Hey everyone, welcome to my very first YouTube video. My name is G and I'm a MERN developer with over 2 years of experience building web applications. In this video, I'll be implementing this beautiful Dribbble design in React. If you already know the basics of React and are looking to practice by building your very first project, this video is perfect for you. I'll walk you through the coding process step by step and share helpful tips along the way. Thank you for joining me and let's dive into the code. So, I have created a folder for this project and opened it in VS Code. I've also opened the terminal there where I'll be running the first command of this video, which is to create the project itself using white. Since I'm making the project using React, so here I will select React, and also I'll be using TypeScript. Now I'll run the install command, which will install all the dependencies. This might take a little time, so I'll see you guys again after the installations is done. So the installations are complete now, and the next step in this project will be integrating Tailwind with White. So I'll copy this command and paste it in my terminal and run it. This will create the necessary files to integrate Tailwind with our project. The next step, as you can see, is configuring the tailwind config.js file. I'll be copying this and pasting it in my local file. There is the file. I'll select all and I'll paste it. Next, I'll copy this index.css file and paste it in my own index.css file. Again, I'll select all and paste. The next step is running the app and checking whether our configurations are working or not. So let's do that. This is the command for running the app. The app runs on localhost 5173, and let's see. Next, I'll remove all these. I'll have a main class here with a paragraph tag, and I'll give it a class name of, say, textred 500, and we'll check out whether this works or not. Okay, something went wrong. Okay, sorry, I have not written any text to show up. So let's write the very first sentence that every programmer writes in the start of a project, and as you can see, there it is, and it is in red. So our Tailwind is working at the moment, and we'll continue with the project. So the next step is to get some static assets for the project. As you can see, I have made this entire section in an SVG format, which I will store in the public folder of the project, and also other necessary SVGs such as this one, and also the logo will be available in the public directory. So I've already made those SVGs. Now I'll delete this public folder and paste another public folder which will contain all the SVGs required for this project. Also, I'll delete this file as I don't need anymore. Next, I'll make another folder in src components, if I can type correctly, and I'll make 3 components here. These are hero section, another one navbar, and the third one is a wrapper file called container. In the next step, we'll work on the container file. So this container file will wrap around other components and help in providing uniform margins and padding to all the components. So this is the component. It will take as props children, which we will define as like this, and again it will return those similar childrens, but with some added classes like these. So the first will be the max width for all the children. This will be the same for all the children, which I have chosen to be 1440 pixel. Next will be margin of 2 and after 1500 pixel the margin will be auto, so that the elements remain in the center. Next, MD of mx-20 and a padding y of 20. These are all the classes that will be given to the container, and I'll see you in the next one. Next, let's work on the navbar component. So first I'll define it. And of course it should return a nav tag. I will export it. Now the navbar will have some classes which are as follows. So the first item within the navbar will be the logo. For that I'll have a div within which I'll have another div, and within that I will have the image with the source being logo.svg and an alternate name of logo. After that div I will have a paragraph tag within which the name of the company will be there, which is a dummy name. In this case I don't even know what that means, but let's just go with that, and with a class name of text of 2xl and font of semi bold. The class name for the div wrapping the image will be a width of 20 pixel, and the class name for the image itself will be object as contain and with a width of full. And the uppermost div will contain a class of flex with items center and justify center. So the logo is done. Let's check it out by putting it in the app component. For that, the first component will be the container within which will lie the navbar. Let's check it out. in our browser. Okay, I seem to have messed up something because the padding is too much here. Let's see in the container. Okay, it should not be 20, it should be 2. Hope you correct that as well. Moving forward. Okay, the logo looks good. Next will be nav links. So the next section in the nav bar will be the nav links. As you can see, these. For that, there should be another div within which we'll define a new component called nav links. Now I'll implement the nav links later, but first I'll paste a constant array called nav links. We'll iterate over this array and implement the nav links. Now we'll implement this nav links component. So for that, we'll return a div with the following class name. It will be flex with items center, justify between, and a gap of, in the horizontal direction, a gap of 6. Now here we'll iterate, or we can say we'll map over the items and return another component which will define later, called nav link. And the props that will pass to the nav link are as follows. The first will be the title, which is item dot title. Then also the next will be href, which again will be item dot href. The other set of props that will pass are active, which is nothing but a state that will pass, and another will be set active, which will be set active itself. Now we'll define these states. So these will be const active, and we'll use the hook use state. And so basically in the state I want to store the title of this, which will tell us on which current nav link we are on. So the type, we can make the type to be a string, but to be more specific, what we can use is this. We'll use a type of operator, a type of nav links, but type of nav links will be an array. We don't want that. So nav links of any number, basically any of the nav link, and any of the nav link, the title field. As you can see, options appear, the title field, and the first, or you can say the default, will be trade, which is our first nav link. So the default will be trade. Okay, so the next step will be implementing the nav link component. So next up we are going to implement this nav link component. So nav link for now I'll just return a div at the moment. First I'll fix all the props that we're passing on to nav link, which are title, then href, then active, and then set active. Okay, Now I have to define the types of these props. So title will be a string, href again a string, active will be a string also, and this set active, which is the state setter function, that we can get the type from here. As you can see, this is the type, so I'll just copy this and paste it here. Cool. Now this nav link is essentially a link, so instead of a div here I'll use a tag, and again the href will be the href that we pass on as a prop to this component. We can give the class name to this a tag. Now for the time being I will not give any class name. We'll come back to this later, because we need a function for this a tag for providing class name to this a tag, and I'll write that function later, so then we can give the class name at that point of time. But in the meantime here we'll say title. Now let's write that function in a different file. So I will create another folder here called lib. Inside lib I'll create a new file called utils.ts, and I'll just copy the function, this one here. So I've written this function in using ChatGPT. So what it does is, I'll just show you. So here we can use this function and we can pass in the class name, right? So let's say text slate 700 and font of semi bold. Now what we can also do here is, the main purpose of this function is to pass conditional class names which will only apply when a condition is true. In this case what I want to happen is, I want the text to be black when active is equal to title. That means the current active title is this particular title. If that happens, we'll just say that instead of text slate 700 it should be text blank. Okay, and also this will get an on click function to change the active state. Now I'll pass in a function and set active to be the title of the nav link that we're clicking on. Let's see this in action. Okay, here they are. Now the change of state is not quite visible, so what I'll do is I'll just make it red 500. Okay, now as you can see the active will appear to be red. That's where the cn function helps us. It helps us in passing conditional class names. Next we are going to implement this login and sign up link. Of course I am not going to implement the functionality, I am just going to implement this design. So let's get to it. So for that I'll be giving a div here with a p tag and two span tags. In the first one it will be login, and the second one it will be sign up with a line in between them. Now the class name for the login will be simply a text slate of 700, and for sign up the class name will be font of semi bold. Let's say this here. Now as you can see, there is not a space between the line and sign up, only between the line and the login. To fix that, we can do this. Now as you can see, there is a space. So for now the navbar is implemented. The next we are going to implement the hero section, which will be the last section for this video. So first thing I'll do is bring this image in the canvas. This image is stored as you can see in the public directory. It is stored as hero_svg. So for that we also first need to make a component. So let's do that. Hero section, and we'll return a div for now, and we'll export it. This div will have a class name of flex items center, justify of between a gap in the horizontal direction of 36 and a margin top of 20. So since I'm using a flex, that means these two will be in the flex container. So there will be two divs, one for this part and one for this part. So the image will come in the second div. So I'll give two divs here, and the image will be in the second div. So the class name for this div will be the width of the entire section, which I have found to be, which fits nice, is 700 pixels. Now inside the div there will be an image tag with the src pointing to hero_svg and alt of, let's say, hero image. Let's see what this looks like, but for that we'll have to bring it here. So we'll import the hero section here, and now let's see how does it look like. So this is the svg. Now the next thing we are going to implement is this entire section. So this entire section. Cool. So now for the first div we'll need three primary things, which are this heading, one paragraph, and this button. So for that, let's say h1, then a paragraph, and then a button. So for the h1, I'll copy the text here and paste here. Now same with the paragraph, I'll copy the paragraph and then paste, and I'll just write whatever is in the button. Okay, but first of all I'll give the class name to the div, which will be flex1, then flex, and flex of column, then items of start, and gap of the vertical direction of 4. For the h1, the class names will be text of 6xl, next font of bold. The class names for paragraph will be text gray 800 and a text of large, of size large. For the button, the class names are quite a bit. Let's see how it looks. So this is the first section completed, not completed, but the first part of first section completed. Next we'll implement these two things. Now I'll implement the last section, which is this one. I'll implement this later. Okay, I'll leave the space and I'll implement it later. So for that, under the button I'll give a div and I'll leave it there. Then in this div I'll have another div, and inside that div I'll have an h5 which will say the writing which was there. Now for the class names, this div will have a class name of width of 85%, then a background of white, rounded Excel, border to border black, padding in the padding Y of 4 and padding X of 8. This h5 will have class name text large font semi-bold. Then the uppermost div will have a class name of background of black, then rounded Excel, width of full, flex, items of center, justify, start, and a margin top of 12. Underneath this div I'll have another div. This one will be housing this image or icon, you can say. So inside that div I'll have another div. Here the class name will be the width, which is 40 pixel. Inside that will be image, which will be showing this image. Let's say icon here, and it will have a class name of width of full and object contain. This div will have a class name of flex1, flex, flex, items center, justify, center. Let's see how this looks. Cool. Now I'll be implementing this section. For this section it is quite simple. I have already made this SVG and these all others are just text, so we'll get on to it. So this is the div that I left for that section. So the class name here will be width of full and flex, then items of end, justify, between, and a margin top of 16. Then inside the div I'll have another div, and the class name for these are to be flex, flex of column, items center, and gap of y of 3. Inside that div I'll have another div which will hold the image. So the class name here will just be the width of that image, which is 150 pixel. Inside that there will be the image, and the src will be people.svg. Let's give an alternate name of, let's say, people, and the class name will be object contain and width of full. Now outside this div will be a paragraph with a class name of, not children, but a class name of text of small. In that paragraph we'll write over 20.8K plus. Here also we'll have to leave a space, so we'll use this one to give that space, and underneath that we'll have an a tag. We'll have an a tag that goes nowhere, but the text will be reviews. Now the class name here will be font of medium, underline, and underline offset of 2. Then after the paragraph, after one div, there will be another div. The class name of this div will be same as that of this div, so I'll just copy that and paste it here within class name. Inside that div we'll have an h3 with 175 plus. The class name here will be 5XL and font of semi bold. Underneath the h3 there will be a paragraph tag which will hold the writing users use the app. The class name for this paragraph will be font of normal, then text of small, and text of gray of 500. Then underneath this div we have another div, which is the last div. Again the class name will be same, so I'll just paste it. This will also have an h3 with this writing, and the class name will again be same, so I'll just copy and paste here. Underneath that again a paragraph tag with the same class name, so I'll just copy that, copy this and paste it here. The writing will be daily transactions. Let's see this section. So here it is. If I zoom out a little, this is the entire project completed. That's a wrap for this video. I hope you enjoyed watching me implement this design in React. The link to the original design and this GitHub repository will be in the description box below, so check them out and feel free to try it yourself. This is just the beginning. There's more to come. If you found this helpful in any way, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to join me on this journey as I share more coding content and projects. Thank you, and see you in the next one.